Hello everybody, we are going to move on to the bouncing ball project, and we're going to use the bouncing ball project to explore some of the basic principles of animation. So in this project, I'm just going to jump into the bouncing ball project folder, and you'll see that I've posted a 12 principles of animation link. The basic concept of the 12 principles of animation is that this is kind of a canon of knowledge that Disney established. And we'll explore a couple of these. If you take a look at these links, Wikipedia does a really good job of boiling down the 12 principles of animation. So I've posted a link from that. There's also a really great article at CG Society about the 12 principles of animation. So this knowledge comes from Disney. This canon of knowledge was really established by the animators at Disney and documented in a really wonderful book called The Illusion of Life, Disney Animation. It's listed here, and I've also posted a link to it on Amazon if you want to take a look at the ISBN. But if you haven't seen this book before, it's definitely worth taking a visit to your local bookstore and flipping through the pages. It's quite an impressive book. So take a look at those. Familiarize yourself with the Wikipedia and the CG Society links, and specifically pay close attention to the concepts of squash and stretch, anticipation, and staging. These are the things that we're going to start to talk about in the bouncing ball project. So I'll give you a little bit of setup for the bouncing ball project, and the first thing is that I've already established just a really simple scene. I have a cube that's kind of flattened out to act as a floor plane. So I'll just select that cube and you can see my dimensions here. I created a standard sphere. That sphere is just a default sphere. I haven't modified that at all. And I'm going to jump into my external hard drive where I have my class folder, and I've already established a bouncing ball project folder and a ball01 Cinema 4D file. So that's the progress I've made on my project. Now, and I'll assume that you can quickly catch up to that, and you don't need a demo to get a sphere and a cube on stage that looks something like this. Now, we're going to have an opportunity to stage this animation a little bit more clearly before I render. So once before I commit to render, I'm going to light this thing in a very different way, and I'll introduce some additional objects in the stage. But what I want to focus on right now is just the mechanics of motion here. Okay, so and before I do this, it's always a great idea to start out with a really clear plan. And you can just sketch some ideas. Usually when I'm trying to think through a plan, whether it's a design, some kind of animation, or some kind of concept that I'm working on, I'll just start to sketch some ideas, pen on paper or pencil on paper. I'm not so concerned about the actual art of it, but it's really important to start off with a clear plan, because otherwise you can get lost in kind of noodling around with the technology. So before I get started, I want to give you a sense of what this animation is going to look like. And in order to do that, I'm going to just jump over to Miro at DeviantArt, and I have that open. And of course, you don't need to use this site to do this, but this is a handy little sketch tool. The link is here. It's miro.deviantart.com. And if you just Google Miro at DeviantArt, you'll come across this. This is just a really interesting cloud application. It's kind of a lot like Photoshop in some ways, and this will allow me to, or assist with me demonstrating a little storyboard here, or an animation path at least. So my concept here is that I'm starting off with a bouncing ball. So I'm going to introduce my ball here, and the ball is going to travel along a path. It's going to impact with the ground, and then it's going to bounce back up, and there's going to be a little bit of decay in the animation. This is the basic animation that I'm going to create, okay? Roughly this animation path, okay? And then eventually I'll kind of continue on and just reduce that path, or that arc that happens as the energy decays. But I really want to focus on two bounces and the starting position of the ball. So I'm going to emphasize just with little marks here. That's going to be a keyframe, right? Because I want my ball to start in this position. This is going to be the path of the animation. The ball is going to impact with the ground down here. Okay, so I'm going to just put a little X or a little plus here. Okay, so that's going to be a keyframe or a point of change, right? So I want the ball to travel from here down to here. Okay, as the ball goes up, I know that I want a keyframe over here too. I want to record the position of the ball over here, and then in order to get that animation here, if we didn't have a point right here, basically our ball would move in a straight line, right? So if we mark a keyframe, the position here, the result is that our ball would move from this position to that position without the arc. So we need to have a keyframe somewhere in here. Okay, now there's a couple of different ways to get this arc. I mean, technically we could do it with a keyframe in here. We'll explore a couple of options, but for now I want to keep this as simple as possible. And focus on really this just being a 4-point animation. Okay, and so if we call this frame 1, okay, this will be our first keyframe at frame 1. We know that our animation is going to have 90 frames of time, and so I'll just let everything default. I'm going to use the last frame according to Cinema 4D, which will be frame 90. Okay, that's going to be the last keyframe. And so what I should be able to do is this last keyframe, or the second keyframe is going to be frame 30. Okay, and I'll make this keyframe 60, and we'll tweak the time as needed. So we have frame 1, frame 30, frame 60, and frame 90. Now that we'll get back to this in just a moment. Once we start noodling around in Cinema 4D, we'll just get back and reference this. Now, I've done this once before, so the fact that this math isn't going to work out perfect, and we'll have to tweak some things, but you'll see that once we start with the ball in this vertical position here, we can start the basic concept of animation. So, or start establishing the basic elements of our animation. So this will be the y-axis. We'll be traveling in space along the x-axis, and it's not really important that we know that at this point, but there's going to come a time when we want to have our animation oriented along the same axes. So back in space will be z, and this is pretty typical in 3D space that z is our foreground background, y is our vertical space, and x is our horizontal space. So so we'll jump back to this illustration here in just a short bit. But for now, I just wanted to kind of map out the animation path that we're going to follow and give you a basic idea of what the keyframes are going to be. And we'll catch up in the next presentation and start to make this happen in Cinema 4D.